And that music still makes me smile after what four seasons of Dr. Tech Show. Welcome everybody to this episode of season 4, the last episode of season 4 of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and often guests we have today, Mike Tarbard, talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller, the late and much missed, as we were talking about this morning, John Popham. Welcome to the show, Sweyn and Mike. And Mike, how's the weather been this week where you are?
Oh, it was beautiful yesterday and beautiful on Saturday. A little bit overcast today, but yeah, what a weekend we had.
And where are you in the country?
Basildon.
Okay,
Yeah, I work in Basildon, but I live in Hadley, very close to the Olympic Park that did the biking back in 2012. It's a lovely area, quite countrysidey.
nice, nice. And Sweyn, what about yourself?
Well, I'm in Kirkwall in Orkney as usual, and it's been a lovely few days. Absolutely lovely. Lots of rain overnight or in the late evenings, but sunshine all through the days, so it's been lovely.
hmm I'm always glad when it rains because it means I don't have to water the honeysuckle and the buddleia that I've planted in the back garden. But I did have to keep doing that yesterday, fortunately or unfortunately. But it was lovely and sunny yesterday here in Birmingham. And today we have clouds, but it's I'm still t-shirt weather, so far so good. So again, welcome to the show, and let's go straight into our dates for this today's show. And the first one is Smartens Awareness Day on Wednesday, the 24th of July, and they choose the that format 24/7 to obviously let you know that Smartens are available 24/7 day or night. And each year in July, Smartens branches in the UK and Ireland hold local events to raise awareness. Smartens are here to listen to anyone who's struggling to cope. And if you'd like to help and raise awareness for Smartens Awareness Day, that's the hashtag. They're asking that you support them on social media by sharing their downloadable social media assets throughout July. They also have printed signposting materials such as leaflets and posters. So they're asking you to sign up to access their online brand center. And on the website, which Sweyn has on screen right now, their information about how to contact Smarten. They're saying whatever you're going through, call us free anytime for any phone on 116 123. That's Smarten's 116 123. But if you don't have a phone signal, you can write things down and communicate with them that way. So
I think one of the really amazing things about the Smartins is how they've pivoted over the last 15 years or so from being a pure phone service to being an absolutely comprehensive online service as well as maintaining their phone service. I think it's been really impressive the way
yeah,
they do that.
I think they've experimented with an app as well. I don't know how
Mm,
well that went, but I
mm.
know that they are one of the charities that are kind of switched on to tech. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
good.
we support Childline, and they've done exactly
Ah,
the same thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
They've got
yeah,
their online portal now for kids to
Mm-hmm.
access, so it's not always that number that I remember. It's another way to get hold of them now. So
yeah,
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Good to know. And the other date that we've picked up around this time of year is National Ice Cream Day, which was actually yesterday, 21st of July. Bit of an esoteric one, but on screen now we have National Ice Cream Day, a picture the Swain's sharing, and then kind of seamlessly segueing into a Facebook post from the
Guess who?
Orkney, Orkney
International
International
Science
Science
Festival,
Festival. That's right.
which has managed
Um,
to get seaweed into the National Ice Cream Day because
Wow.
apparently seaweed is used in the manufacture of ice cream for to stabilize it and to thicken it. And that's just one fact about seaweed that you can learn about at the Orkney International Science Festival this year,
Yeah, I'm not
the
sure
5th
about that. Seaweed,
It's
seaweed,
September the
really.
5th to the 11th.
Mhm.
Some of the events, as usual, we've not yet decided which, will be online. So that's my excuse for bringing it up in Dr. Tech Show. But obviously, if you're in Orkney at the time, please come to some events at the Science Festival. Or if you're not planning to be in Orkney, why not make a plan? There's weeks. There's weeks to make a plan in.
Mike, you're not sure about the ice cream, the
Well, the seaweed,
Carrageenan or
yeah,
Orkney?
yeah. The seaweed was the one. I don't need a day to go and get the ice cream tub out of the
Mm,
freezer,
mm.
but
Uh-huh.
yeah, seaweed. I'll give it a go. I'll try anything
Well,
at least once.
it's very popular in Ireland. Both seaweed and Carrageenan actually. And I had it myself when I was a child, not recently. full of iodine as well, so very, very good for you.
Okay.
So if we can have ice cream on the NHS, Sweyn, I think we'd be very happy. I'd be very happy with that anyway. But yes,
Additives extracted from seaweed have been used as ingredients for a long, long time. Alginate that's in those kind of for baking the kind of glacier cherry type thing. That's
yeah.
Okay.
the stiffness agent in that is derived from seaweed traditionally. I don't know if it still is, but yeah, it's been a very important resource. Seaweed for all sorts of things.
Yeah, we like to bathe in seaweed as well. If you see me
steady
in a
on,
seaweed
steady
barrel.
on.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend. I can't wait to do it again. Hopefully in September in Ireland. Anyway, moving on, we have some events as well that we've picked up. The first one is starting on 31st of July and runs on the 21st of August. And this is a free training course for residents of Denbighshire. It's on Eventbrite, and I won't attempt to pronounce the Welsh pronunciation of it, but in English, it's a 4-day event across 4 weeks where you learn essential digital skills to thrive in today's digital world. Whether you're a tech novice or looking to upskill, their expert speakers will cover topics like cybersecurity, handling information, digital communication, and online collaboration tools. One of many digital skills courses that are available, but it's great to see them happening so regularly now, and based on the government's Essential Digital Skills program. So that's one a week for 4 weeks from 31st of July. And finally, the last event that we picked up is actually happening in August when we're off air, but couldn't resist this one. It's the Manchester Data Community Summer Social 2024, and this is organised by Her and Data MCR, a community working to connect, inspire, support and empower the Northwest UK's women in data. Their goal is to bring together women and non-binary people who work in data or who would like to work in data to support one another, share experiences and talk data, big or small. And for their August event, they're bringing together their friends at North Coders, Open Data Manchester, hi to Julian and co, Pi Data, MCR, Queer in Tech, Our Ladies Manchester and Rust Manchester, joining each other to host a Manchester Data and Tech Community Summer Social to bring everyone together again and hear more about each of these groups and their activities. So yeah, good to hear that even in August, there's going to be activities the tech community are getting together with, and I'm looking forward to October actually when it's Birmingham Tech Week, but that we'll be back on air by then, so we'll have time to interview about that. But I do know there's a Digital Skills Day on the Tuesday of Birmingham Tech Week, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Mike, are you do you take part in kind of data tech community events around your area?
I'll be honest with you, I go to exhibitions where the industry go. So my knowledge and keeping up to date is generally going around a show when I get the time, speaking to the many industries and businesses that are placed there. And yes, it's a really interesting time. I was at InfoSec very recently, lots of security companies there. And yeah, the thing that I walked away with was the issues with QR codes now, and the issue of using your phone to connect to something that's not necessarily where you think you're going to end up. And there's quite a few companies there. One in particular called Koala. They were going to try and tackle that with a kind of an app that goes in the center of you scanning, and it will test it and say, yes, this is a genuine website you're about to land on, as opposed to you accidentally paying for a car parking ticket and it being someone that steals your money out your bank account.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah. We've had stories about that before on the show. So somebody's thinking about how to
they're a young team, but they've got their branding right. I think they've got their product right, and hopefully we'll see a bit more of them in the next few years.
Oh, great! We'd love to hear more about that. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we welcome you to the show, Mike. You're the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Every Child Online. You are a seasoned marketing professional and charity CEO, driven by a passion for innovative solutions and a commitment to making a positive impact. You're a father of 3 and husband to an NHS nurse. You draw inspiration from your family life to fuel your professional endeavours. Throughout his career, I'll go into the third person now, Mike has worked for international technology manufacturers, excelling in various marketing disciplines, including product management and marketing communications. His curiosity and interest in the workings of other departments have deepened his understanding of the products he marketed, enhancing his ability to serve customers and streamline company processes. Mike's career has taken him around the globe, attending international exhibitions and supporting technology sales across diverse industries such as emergency services, military, science, medical, and space exploration. His competitive spirit and drive to outperform rival companies have been key factors in his success as a marketer. In 2018, Mike founded his own marketing company, which faced challenges during the lockdowns. This quieter period led him to discover the pressing issue of the digital divide, inspiring the creation of Every Child Online. Through this initiative, Mike is dedicated to making a lasting impact on children and adults on the wrong side of the divide. Everyone deserves an opportunity to access digital education tools and be inspired into digital. The future includes the continued growth of the charity, entering into teaching digital literacy and avoiding issues related to the darker side of being online, possibly even creative coding and graphic design clubs. Other plans include the launch of Everyone Digital CIC, which will provide the charity with an opportunity to support many more digital inclusion projects. The charity Every Child Online was founded in 2020, and it collects surplus PCs, laptops, tablets, and computer accessories from the public and businesses, refurbish them. The charity refurbishes them and gives them to schools and kids without access to online learning. The charity's goal is to ensure that schools have computers fit for purpose, underprivileged children have computers to distance learning from home, and to close the digital divide in our communities. And so far, they have helped 20,000 children and young people, 200 plus schools and charities, distributed 12,500 laptops and PCs, and had £3.5 million worth of devices donated. So well done, Mike, and welcome to the show.
No, appreciate it. And just my website, all the things we do, the website is the one that's sort of lacking updating at the moment. So our statistics are actually a lot higher than that. Yeah, we're 2 years in from that website being built. So we've done a hell of a lot of work, and we've refurbished a hell of a lot of equipment, and working with lots and lots of businesses that support what we're trying to do at the moment. So it's been a really busy 4 years.
Excellent. Well done. Well done. So as we were saying before we before we came on air, we always like to ask our guests about how they actually got into this field, what brought them in, because it's interesting to for other people to learn how they might follow in your footsteps. So can you tell us a bit about your early career and then what brought you to this?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, well, I mean, to go right back, I've always had an interest in educating kids. It's not a career path I took on, but I started off doing Camp America when I was a young teen, and I went over there as a camp photographer, and I spent 12 weeks in the US teaching kids that were at these camps, having a really good time. And I continued to do that for 4 years after that. I went back as a counsellor. And I sort of grew through the years until I became the head of the teen division, which was a challenge in itself. But I've never forgotten it. I've really always loved working around the youth, if you like. The challenges that come with that. But no, I decided that I wanted money and I wanted to get a career. So I ended up working in a manufacturing facility. It was a funny one actually. I think I was jobless for a while, and it was Christmas time, and my aunt was working in MK Electric, if you may have heard of it. They make plug sockets and all kinds of things, and they're a British brand. Kind of like if you want it, they would have classed themselves as the pinnacle and the top brand of making plug sockets and all kinds of stuff like that. And I ended up in the manufacturing area making plugs, and so sort of it was a bit of a mundane day, I have to say, and I tried to entertain myself by being as fast and efficient at what I was doing as I possibly could, which was probably to the annoyance of the rest of the team because I was doing things way too fast. But that's always been how I am. I've always wanted to do the best I can, and I went into the customer services side of that business, and then I went into the marketing side of that business, and I was at that company for about 7 years. I left. Worked for a competitor for a while, so I kind of understood what it meant to compete against two rival companies and the kind of marketing that was required. But then I ended up in a company that really changed my life. It was E2V, a huge technology company, a global technology company that makes things that go out into space, from CMOS sensors through to thermal imaging cameras, communication tools to communicate with TV companies, so broadcasting, that kind of thing. And I was in a unique position where I was in the marketing team, and I had to look after, I think there was about 12 divisions within this one business, and I looked after 6 divisions. My favorite one being in the emergency services and the thermal imaging, because we had a very finished product. The majority of the products in the other departments were systems parts or components, really high end, but components nevertheless. But the thermal imaging were complete devices, and it had a really niche team. We had to work slightly differently to everybody else because we were selling to the end user, not a systems integrator. And I would be traveling around the world, pitching the device in various ways, competing with the other many businesses that were doing a similar product. And yeah, we did really, really well. I mean, we were dominating the market. And I really enjoyed it, from video work to the website work, and then the exhibitions and traveling and meeting lots of people as well. And then I happened to get headhunted by a competitor, and that's where I learned the uniqueness of a brand sometimes, because you can work for individuals that make just about good enough products, or you can work with the ones that really make the best they can be. And sometimes you don't have to necessarily lie or do marketing speak. You can be absolutely truthful. And then when you meet a company that does equally as good a products, you've got to understand how to differentiate. And that's where I learned to kind of, you don't have to be like for like. You can do things in a slightly different way, as long as your message is sincere and constant. You can start to change minds and convince people to do it your way over the sort of the natural way that people have learned to do certain things. So yeah, I spent years doing that and had a really good time. And then inevitably, which happens a lot with technology companies these days, a bigger beast turned up and bought the company. And then I found that quite challenging, to walk into an extremely corporate American-led business where they thought they knew better than us. We'd become market leader, and it didn't mean anything. Everybody else knew better than us. And then slowly but surely, everyone in the team started to go, and I took that opportunity to start something up myself. So I ended up starting up a little marketing company. I had a few clients in the same industry, so I was doing stuff for the fire service, fire industry people, and it was going quite well actually until the usual thing kicked in the last few years. It was COVID, and that slowed everything down tremendously. I had a client, actually one of my best friends, who had an IT company, and I was in his offices, and it was quite quiet because his staff were at home, working from home, and we were on occasions putting some loud music on, playing pool, because there wasn't really a lot going on. And it was actually Simon, who is actually co-founder of Every Child Online with me. He was watching the BBC News, and a report came on of a child that received a laptop by somebody because they couldn't access the internet. And basically downstairs in his warehouse, he had about 12 or 13 devices that needed fixing, which he did. He fixed them up, and we went to a local school, and really we were just going to hand them over, and that was the end of that. However, when we spoke to the headmaster and the deputy head, they told us the problem of that school specifically, which was something like 1,400 kids, 40% didn't have access to a device, and they were going around with pieces of paper, posting them in letterboxes to try and get the kids educated, and that was obviously a very difficult job, probably an into nothing, because how could they do that every day? So yes, we kind of got back in the car after handing out that kit. Obviously now knowing the scale for this school, but also understanding the scale for the entire area, because this was no different to many of the other schools. And I just said, let's do something about that. Simon, you're an IT guy. I'm a marketing person. Let's have a go. See what we can come up with. And Simon basically said something like, right, let's just do a small little thing on the website, and we'll leave it at that. So I went, okay, but actually in my head going, not okay. I'm going for this. I really am. And, so I built a website, basically asking for support and why we need support. And my message has been tweaked quite a lot. The more I learn, because I'm new to charity. I'm new to the digital divide, and I love learning. I mean, I've taken on the skills I had in the past, where I had to learn about technology I'd never heard of. You know, and I used to work with all of these engineers and scientists, and then all of a sudden there's me having to pitch this stuff to people
Yeah.
and write things. So I've had to learn a lot about the digital divide, but I've taken a lot of it on my personal experiences rather than looking at statistics and what other people say, because you know I've sort of learned these days statistics are, you know, can be manipulated, and they're not always true. So I've taken it all on from what I've seen, and I've seen a hell of a lot of it, I have to say. So at the time we got the website up. I started using LinkedIn to sort of promote what we were doing and saying, did you know this is a problem out there? And in my sort of travels of searching for support, I ended up approaching the BBC, Essex, in fact,
Why not?
and they were doing a campaign
You've
called
got you that's kind of what our founder John Popham found himself doing as well, was
Yeah.
interacting with BBC local radio. And
Yeah.
that's where the Dr. Tech
wonderful.
name came from, because
Title,
they used to
yeah.
have him on like as an agony aunt for tech, even
Well,
before the pandemic. I think it was BBC
Leeds.
Leeds mainly. But yeah, no, that's really interesting.
Well, local
That's
BBC, I'd really rate local BBC, the teams and what they try and do, because they really do bring the community together. And so they were doing give a laptop campaign, and I just sort of waved the flag. I wasn't a charity at that point, and I had no kind of evidence that I wasn't I was legit from then, because I'm sure there's some unscrupulous people that were getting free computers out of it. But I must have been compelling enough and sent enough proof that they said, okay, we'll put you on our site, and I became the Essex hub for any donations coming, and that's when it all went kaboom. I think it was the second lockdown, I think, more than anything else, where it really kicked off. And not only do we start getting devices in from the public because of the link with the BBC, but obviously our work that we've been doing ourselves. But I think it's at that point when businesses were like, well, this is going to carry on this. I think we need to start getting rid of all of that kit we've got in our offices. So, you know, I was going up with Simon in the vans, collecting devices. And it was, we were getting like towers of PC kits going everywhere.
I've had a random thought, as usual. What's the outlook for organizations like yours as Microsoft retires Windows 10?
Well, see that originally it was easy to get rid of devices. I mean, we were going into schools and handing out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of devices. I mean, we could change about 3 or 4 different classrooms at a time with all the kit, from the PCs to the monitors, the mice, keyboards, everything, no problem. And then probably about 6 or 7 months ago, we need everything to be Windows 11 compatible. We need it to be 8th generation Intel and above. And it was kind of like, okay. So what that meant was I had to really up my game, and you know, when it came to companies, start go for the bigger corporates and sort of talk to them. But then I started to find that I had more and more devices on the shelf here. I mean, we support lots and lots of charities. We support the social services coming like so regularly now. We've become a real resource for them.
The reason I asked was, you know, in October 2025, Microsoft will stop providing security updates for Windows 10.
Yes.
And therefore, everyone using Windows 10, including me on this device here, needs to decide what to do at that point. I was just wondering, you must have deployed quite a lot of Windows 10 devices. Do you or your recipients have a plan for getting over that kind of difficult period?
Well,
for the already installed people, as well as the people who you're giving new devices to now.
Yeah, well, I mean, schools are certainly stopping any devices that aren't Windows 11 now coming in. So they thought about this a while back. So that seems to be the case. With the other, I mean, it really boils down to their insurance policy, I think, and whether their insurance company is insisting that they have Windows 11 and certain types of software. There are schools that are going to have to just make do, and they will have to make do, but strive to raise the money, strive to approach companies like us.
Do you think there's scope for support to some of those schools in how least dangerously to actually maintain Windows 10 beyond October 25? Do you think that's worth a bit of effort from somebody? Not necessarily from you, but do you think that
Yeah.
would work? Do you think schools would engage with that sort of thing? Because it's a thing. It's one of the aspects that we've found comes up again and again over the 4 years that we've been doing the show is when you get these sort of discontinuities in the
Yeah.
technology, something very popular gets retired, something stops working or whatever. What do typically the people who've received recycled devices, obviously by definition, the average age of those devices is older than those
Yeah.
of people who have new devices. And I sometimes think there's something. I sometimes think there's a little tiny bit missing from the overall offer from the sector
Yeah.
to people who have these reconditioned
I,
devices. I just wonder what you
yeah, no,
thought about that.
I think there's going to be a challenge in there, and I think there's going to be a lot of schools just making do,
Yeah.
and looking for advice and looking for support.
Mm.
You do have schools with IT departments, you do have schools
Yeah.
using MSPs, and then you have schools with nobody except for maybe
Yeah.
the PE teacher.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this is going to be a new problem. I think there's hope that this will be extended anyway, because of the issues.
Well,
The
that's
schools
one
will
answer,
face.
certainly. I mean,
Yeah.
you will be able to buy, or commercial users will be able to buy an extra year or two or three of support, but that's going to cost $61 a device for the first year, double that for the second year, and double it again for the third year. So maybe some pressure from the sector as a whole to enable schools and the charity sector to get access to that continued support for a lot less,
Uh,
or for
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
That might work. That might be
Yeah.
that might be one strategy.
I suspect someone's thought of that, because I think as a whole the schools are in
Yeah, I'm
big
sure they
trouble.
have.
Yeah. Yeah. But I always wondered why schools couldn't sort of departmentalize certain areas of the school so that the staff have access, but then the kids maybe can have a slightly different way of accessing the educational software that doesn't allow for any cyber criminal to get hold of
Yeah.
any
Well,
mistake a child might make.
that's the other approach. I mean, there are ways of kind of, I'm going to use the wrong terminology because I'm not a
Yeah.
cybersecurity expert, kind of air gapping your old devices from the actual internet, but still providing some kind of
Yeah.
access to the internet. There are technical ways of doing that, but they're not widely known by PE teachers or even by even by IT departments, because IT departments' first response would say, right, we've got to upgrade everything.
Yeah.
So that leaves individuals particularly, and also education and charity type organizations kind of slightly at sea in that sort of area. And I just wonder whether there's a little piece of work that I'm not suggesting it's you,
Yeah.
that somebody somewhere, AbilityNet or Digital Unite or something like that could do to actually give the
I,
crib sheet to the PE teacher
yeah.
who's supporting a
I
network.
think there's collaboration opportunities
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Definitely. The charity itself wants to sort of get more involved in the educational side
Yeah,
of it, the cybersecurity side of it.
yeah,
We've always understood the responsibility we have of handing over a device to a child from a sort of a background where possibly at home he's got no one to teach him the rights or
yeah,
wrongs of being online, and that's always weighed heavy on me. And I'm hoping that we're getting it. So hopefully we're getting it right. Our biggest challenge has been, and I was talking to you earlier about like the idea of strategic planning, and being different from everybody else. Well, what we've desperately tried to do as a charity for a while is become a really efficient partner to the corporates and the public for wiping machines, collections, wipes, and then the refurbishment side of it, even the recycling side of it. And what we've done is we've recently set up a CIC called Everyone Digital, which is going to allow us to really focus on that, and become a real professional IT asset disposal business, so that we can fulfill all the policies that corporate companies have. So we'll have all the accreditations, we'll have software when it comes to wiping that is accredited, and they should be very relaxed in handing something like that over to us, because we will mirror the best of the best. But in addition to that, when it comes to the metrics of supplying to us and what we can achieve by handing it out to the public, to children, from a environmental social governance and a corporate social responsibility and all the isms, and tick boxes that corporate firms need to adopt, just to sell a product nowadays. we hope to partner with lots of these big companies. So we become a given, and we promote the IT full circle as well. And there's so many industries out there now concerned about the level of talent coming through the system, the education system, and I kind of say to them, well, let's do something about it. Your computer kit could be handed to a kid who could be digitally, we can inspire digital creativity in various areas, not just us, but people that we partner with. And they can be sat in front of you one day with a computer, with the skills that you require. So yeah, the IT full circle, I think it's a no-brainer. And I'd like to think that we do become, a go-to place, as well as other charities that do the similar thing to us. They shouldn't be selling this stuff. I think there's more value to a corporate firm in handing this stuff to people like us, overselling them and making a bit of profit, because it's just some. I mean, from a marketing alone, it's got to be worth it. But from a school's perspective, I think they're going to struggle a lot in the next few years until this sort of wave of new tech. The 4 years have gone past, and the Windows 11 are just something that we go and collect without even considering it.
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened now, Sweyn. I found this diagram of waste management hierarchy just today, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's got the basic reduce, reuse, and recycle trinity there, where everything that you do further up the page is an order of magnitude better than anything you do the next step down. And it just indicates all the, waste management as such only starts halfway down. Before at the top half of the page is all waste avoidance, and a lot of, quite apart from the excellent social benefits of redeploying devices, it's an absolutely fantastic example of reuse of equipment, and from an environmental point of view, it should be right up there with what companies are wanting to do, because it's just a complete no-brainer, and it's so brilliant.
Yeah, I think we've grown up in an era where things are easily disposed of, and I'm a part of that as well. You can buy a really cheap device, it breaks, and then you think, well, that's it. Let's just throw this in the way.
I was arguing with somebody today. Some business. There's a picture going around social media of a coffee shop which has decided to leave on the floor all of the disposable coffee cups.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah,
and the whole shop is full of coffee cups up to about waist level. And somebody commented, and one of my friends commented on it saying, "Oh well, there's nothing wrong with these coffee cups these days because they're compostable, and as long as they're." But it's completely missing the point to say, single use anything is just a really, 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 really bad thing. And just because I am at the end of my use of this device here that is running Windows 10 at the moment doesn't necessarily mean to say that somebody else couldn't make use of it to reuse in the top half of the page for goodness knows how many years more, rather than buying another one.
Yeah. Well, the challenge we had with the older kit that the schools weren't accepting was that it was filling up my shelves, and I was trying to think about, how can I dispose of this? What do I do with this kind of kit? It's still usable. Yes. So the first project we ended up working with was a company that was supporting a charity in the Ukraine, and they came and collected 100 devices from us. That included the monitors, the PCs, and everything. And it went really well. We got everything ready out the door without any problems. I still had a hell of a lot of tech left. So we set up, we've done it 3 times now. We do tech pop-ups, and we go to a school. The school has been inviting families that are, I suppose specifically on the free dinners. I'm sure there's a word for that.
Free school meals.
Yeah, free school meals, and inviting those families to come in and collect tech at the school. So we've done one in Chelmsford, one in Basildon, and one only on Friday in Southend. And it amazes me because we've had, I think I promote 100, so we've got 100 to give away. First come, first serve. And this one school, it was purely parents from this one school. We had 60 families come along.
Wow.
This was on Friday, collecting devices for them and the kids to use. We're kind of a believer that it's the parents. If we don't teach the parents how to use computers or allow them to understand what's going on out there in the cyber world, that they're never going to be able to teach the kids. So the idea of everyone digital is that
Yeah.
the more we
Yeah.
grow that, the more we can work on projects that aren't just every child online. Every child online is going to become a project partner, if you like, of everyone digital.
Everyone digital.
Yeah, and everyone digital will work with other organisations and do other projects, but steadfast working on making sure we get kit.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
it's exciting
No,
times for us.
It's
Yeah.
such an important pillar, making sure that everyone has a device, and
Yeah.
you're right as well to say that there's lots of collaboration opportunities available for people who are giving out devices, because there are other things in the equation as well, like data, having enough data, having the skills to actually use the data and the device to do what
Yeah.
you need to do, having the confidence to go and find out new stuff, and as you were saying earlier, how to staying safe online as well. And it's all really important. But the great thing is that there's there's a bit of specialization and collaboration going on in the sector now, so that some organizations focus on one or two of those factors, but they're able to hand off and work with the other organizations that are focusing on the other ones. And that's really a change in the last 4 or 5 years, I think, from
Yeah.
lots of warm words about the fact that we need to get everybody online to actually a lot of the nitty gritty, the hard work of actually on the ground. I'm trying to avoid using the phrase "at the coal face," getting it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you involved in any of those networks, Mike?
Well,
Restart or reboot project or anything like that?
no, I'll be honest with you. It's something that when I get a chance to sit back and relax and continue my education, then I'll probably get involved in those kind of things. But right now, there is so much going on. It's a daily thing for us.
Yeah.
I've got teams to look after. I mean, we have students come in and help us with and have done traditionally since we started with the refurbishment process. So we're keeping an eye on those. We're expanding that project as well, because we feel that we can, and with the support of students, do a hell of a lot more to educate the students, but using the students' knowledge to support other people. It's a real collaborative thing. We're hoping to get the colleges involved, the social services involved, local councils as well, and I think together we can make a real big difference.
Again, even locally here in Orkney, and I think the Restart brand is national, at least Scottish, if not the UK, and it's a fantastic organisation because it accepts any old rubbish, really, including electrical devices and everything from a broken 90s Nokia phone up to anything else, and furniture and books and records and everything. And they have funding to train young people in how to sort them out and make them saleable if possible, and if not, how to some of them will be involved in getting them ready for recycling and all that sort of stuff. And it's a fantastic, completely circular initiative, and and also it provides a source of really good value, quite cheap things for people who've not much money to buy, in the knowledge that they're using a thing rather than commissioning.
You're right. There's so much opportunity involved in this. We're looking at a project now, and this sort of takes us abroad now potentially. That we started to recycle
today, Basildon, tomorrow.
I know, tomorrow the world. And this boils out of turning up to exhibitions and meeting people from all kinds of places. And there was a guy I met recently that was supporting charities in India, and specifically the young ladies that want to go to university but couldn't afford it. And these youngsters were selling themselves to afford to go to college. So he has set up a program where they can earn points by doing certain jobs, and it keeps them in college. And one of the things we were discussing was the kit that we get when we take a computer apart, because it now needs to be thrown away, and we take a phone apart, and all the kinds of things that we get that we want to recycle instead of refurbishing, because it just isn't going to last any longer. There's so many interesting component bits inside a computer. So we did a bit of research, myself and some students, and we found we can do so much sort of hobbycraft, designing jewelry and clocks and bags and belts and that kind of thing. So I've pitched the idea to this guy.
That's reuse as well.
That's it. We've got to try and find a mechanism to get this stuff across. But there's an opportunity potentially there for the stuff that we have been selling it on, to tiers above us, but to turn it into something, I don't know, like a cufflink with your keys on it, like MT, whatever. And it looks actually quite nice. If you can do it right, I think there's some real kit that can come out of it.
Well, there's raw material there for designers to design stuff.
That's it. And it should bring some money in for us. It should bring some money in for this other charity.
Yeah.
So this whole collaboration thing, it's not going to end, I don't think. It's just project upon project upon project, So I need to grow my project team. That's what I need to do.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And we have some links that we can put up on the YouTube channel after the show to link to all these, including the one reboot project that Sweyn had on the screen just while you were talking, from Nominate, the Restart, which is another one about refurbishing devices, and then bigger even than that, the Reuse Network, which is about all kinds of different reuse of all kinds of things.
Just remember, it's not nothing to do with tech, but the latest thing that the local Restart place has started doing is it started accepting any old mattress in any condition, and 3/4 of them they can put them through processes which disinfect, clean, unstain, bleach, and you end up with pretty much a new mattress.
That's great. Well, that is great.
Nothing to do with tech, but it's an example of how the young people involved in learning how to do that are learning really valuable technical skills, and not IT skills, but technically in a different way. And the whole reuse of the mattress thing, that it's extending their life and it's reducing the requirements to make new stuff. It's just brilliant.
No, there are projects like that around. I mean, from bikes to a local Rotary, which I'm actually a member of, have been supporting us for a number of years. So when the public were donating to us, they would go around collecting the devices for us. And I got to know the team really well. I became a member. But they do a thing usually every sort of winter time, and they collect coats, and they are inundated with coats, and they get them all cleaned up, ready to go out to people. So there are so many things that we can do with the stuff that we would traditionally put in a bin and get rid of.
Absolutely.
Even a lady I met once that was taking ring pulls, and she was turning ring pulls into belts, and she's kind of the one that has inspired me to do the stuff with tech. It's phenomenal what can happen if you really think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, we're for our sins also both involved in like engineering and kind of retrofit buildings. So everything needs to be, because we all care about the planet really ultimately. Everything that we do should contribute towards
everything that applies
too.
to stuff applies to energy as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just as simple as that.
Yeah. So Mike, what would you say you've faced any challenges, kind of any kind of barriers so far, and how have you overcome them?
Well, I'll be honest. It's a really thing. I come from a religious background. I was a Catholic boy, but for whatever reason, I didn't pursue it after school. Once the nuns and brothers had finished their job. But for years I've just sort of cracked on and never really thought about it myself. But since I've got involved in this area, and it feels like a calling as such, that there's been, like as you say, there's been some difficult times that through no reason other than pure effort on our part that have helped us at the pivotal point, whether it be finances, whether it be kit coming in, whether it be partnerships with organizations. It always seems to, it's got to the point, and I don't want to get to the point where I trust that something will happen, but it does feel like it does. We had Manhattan skyline of computers at one point. We just didn't know what to do with all these computers, and just sat and watched television probably the next morning after I'd had a bit of a sleepless night, and there was Boris talking about T-levels and how students now have to do 315 hours worth of work placement. So I was on the phone the next day and I rang up 3 or 4 colleges, and they were absolutely desperate to get support. So I've had at least 100 odd kids in the last 2-3 years coming through to support the charity, and they're here once a week for the entire what would you call it, school period of 2 years. So you get to understand these kids and help them along the way. I get requests for references from them, and what it does, it sort of inspired me to do other things, because I can see that the education they're getting isn't always as good as it could be, especially getting into this profession. They need to do some more practical stuff. And
Yes.
I hope to get into the point where, I mean, one of my goals in this year is to set up free IT support. So I talked about giving away all these computers to families recently. The first thought I had was, as soon as one of those devices slows down or breaks or something just relatively easy to fix happens, they're not going to be able to do it.
My mate Jamie, who we had on the show from AbilityNet, will be desperate to make contact with you now
please give me a
to,
call.
to kind of give you a structure and a kind of infrastructure for doing precisely that, because that's what AbilityNet do. They provide free IT support to more or less anybody who asks for it, and they've got all these tools and resources and volunteer training schemes and all that stuff. Absolutely recommend that you look at that just to plug into your own stuff rather than you having to invent it all. There's a whole pile of stuff there.
And if nothing else, there's another reason to why I was on today, because it's something that's been bugging me for a long time. AbilityNet, that's one point. But I do meet so many people that have already solved the problem in some way, but on a much smaller scale in a local region. So shows like yours allows someone like me to talk about what I think only I'm doing, and then you tell me no, that's not the case. I would happily work with other people because there are things I don't know, or I don't know what I don't know is a term I've used.
I mean, if you've got a supply of young people who are likely to be able to volunteer, and a supply of equipment, I mean,
that's it.
It's just wow! I can't even say the words. It's just so brilliant.
Yeah, you can see my frustration because there's so much. I mean, if someone wants to give me a pot of gold, I would use it wisely. I promise. If anyone's out there wants to invest in Ed,
no, I think AbilityNet will be worth their weight in gold, because they will enable you to organize that side of what you're trying to do with much less effort than trying to do it yourself.
No, that sounds wonderful, and I
think we do have to ask though. How do you finance the organization? Because you're talking about giving away devices.
Where do pots of gold come from?
Some people have to get paid. Yeah, how
lots of rainbows.
That?
Well,
lots of rainbows.
Up until very recently, I was doing this because I had other enterprises on the go, and that was basically helping me out. But because I got so busy, I've sold them or passed them on. And so now I'm truly only funded by what we're doing now. So what we've done for 4 years up until very recently is we've given everything away, and I was hopeful that someone would come along and look at what we're doing and support it financially. But the reality kicks in, and that's not always the case. So what we do, we collect pretty much everything from businesses. So when we go in there, like you said before, desks and that kind of thing, but we also collect docking stations, TVs, various other bits, and we asked the companies, would they have any issues with us selling some of this stuff? So we're a fan of eBay here, so we sell stuff to keep ourselves going. We've started.
That is fantastic.
Yep.
Sorry, just pause to appreciate that. You're funding yourself by selling junk on eBay, effectively, or things that businesses consider to be junk.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that's
again, businesses would think that because they've got lots of money, budgets, and this stuff's in the way.
So exactly.
So they're really helpful in that.
You should be charging them for taking it away.
Well, you say that.
There, I think.
The whole idea was that we develop relationships, we get a brand out there, we prove our worth, and then we slowly start to suggest maybe there's some additional support you can have. I mean, we're going to start a membership up where it really truly does benefit our corporate firms, right from metrics through to those students that we were talking about, maybe being sponsored so that we can pass students right through the chain to our corporate partners. Events that we want to get involved in, that they can get involved in as well. These tech giveaways into the public, the idea that possibly someone, if you're out there, broadband company possibly, wants to sponsor those events, and there we are giving kit away to families that might not have access to the internet. I mean, we work with Vodafone right now with the little SIM cards that they hand out, but there are obviously members of the public out there that would look for lower cost broadband solutions, and we do provide little information packs to them just in case they don't know how to do it. But there's opportunities there. So I'm hoping sponsorship. I'm hoping we can get into the going and doing grant applications because of the way we're heading with the charity.
I think on the sponsorship side, you probably want to look at Digital Unite, because their mode of operation is persuading firms of all sizes to release their staff to do voluntary work in this area. That's not a million miles away from sponsorship from those companies. So that's another one I would definitely.
We have a few companies doing that. But what I was because it's
again the Digital Unite they've specialized in that area of
digital champions,
getting things out of. They wouldn't like me putting it this way, but getting hours out of employees of big companies, and kind of helping them sponsor things. So I think
there's definitely lots of opportunity, but when it comes to our refurbishments process, we've become very professional at it. So we as much as we used to love volunteers coming in and helping us out.
No, I'm not talking about volunteers. I'm talking about speaking to Digital Unite about routes to sponsorship of what you're doing.
Okay,
because they're already interacting with these enormous companies, a lot of them tech companies.
Okay, and I like that.
That just a thought.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping in 2025 there's a few announcements that we will make, because we are talking to some monsters out there. But the one thing I've always learned, because I've coming from the corporate environment, is that decisions turn like oil tankers, and there's lots of layers involved in that. Whereas I can make a decision today and get it done tomorrow.
Some people think that's the difference between the public sector and the private sector. It's not. It's the difference between small organizations and large organizations.
Pretty much, yeah. There's all the whole legal side of things as well. What corporate firms can afford. But there's lots of opportunities coming for us. In fact, if you don't mind me saying, one of our first projects as Everyone Digital, which we call ED for short, is that we are supporting on a beta project Essex Scouts. Now, the Scout movement itself has its own digital inclusion project. It has badges for the kids, and they want to achieve their cybersecurity badge and various other digital literacy badges. But they're finding it very challenging to get that kit into the clubs. The guy with the purse strings, is being asked by someone for £1,000 for 2 laptops, and he's thinking, can't do that to every club. In Essex alone, I think there's something like 13,000 scouts, which is huge. And I might even got that number wrong. It might be more than that. So the project is, and it almost screams the same as Every Child Online. They are going to use their connections, whether it be the volunteers or the businesses. They're going to talk about, please help us. We need computers. This lot, Everyone Digital, will come and collect it. They will wipe it, and then very similar to the schools. So what we've done with the schools is, like I say, we've given most stuff away up until recently, but now what we do is we ask our partners of that scale to support our efforts, and we've been selling computers to schools for about 45 quid, laptops and that kind of stuff.
Cover the cost of
cover
with it and delivering it.
Well, we have to pay for a license to wipe a device. We have to pay for the equipment. And there's all kinds of things and costs. So we've got to the point where we get to say 45 quid, and they can have those devices, which if we put it on eBay, which I'd love to do, but if we go on eBay, we can get hundreds of pounds for a device. But that's not the point. The point is to get that that device out there and start educating our kids.
I've googled it. There's 17,000 scouts in Essex.
There you go. And what really drives me is I think our government has dropped the ball massively when it comes to technology and educating kids. It's almost like they've done it on purpose, because there is such a divide. There are kids in private schools now that don't bother with the basics. They use AI to sort of get them to that point because they can. They've got the software for it. They've got the computers for it. And then you've got schools where kids are being taught nothing whatsoever. If we want gamers and if we want engineers and animators and producers, and we want the kids to be inspired at a really young age. Absolutely. So come on,
you've brought me onto the. I've got 2 things noted on my
You've
notebook
activated
here.
Pauline.
The government and its approach to digital inclusion. We could have a whole other show on this, but wanted to get your view on that if you're happy to share it. And I'll just back to the badges thing. Are they digital badges or are they physical badges that you're talking
No, I
talking
think
about
that
with
they're
the Scouts.
physical,
Okay.
digital
badges.
inclusion badges. Yeah,
Yeah.
Just so on your
which,
arm,
which
along
I
with your
hope to
housekeeping
see.
badge and your.
I'm off to a jamboree next week in
Okay.
Chelmsford.
All
It's an
right.
international jamboree, and we're going to launch there. And one of
Sorry,
the things
Mike. Does everything digital have an online presence at the moment, or is
it
it?
doesn't. No, I'm well behind.
That's fine. No,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just pleased that's the answer because I
yeah.
can't find it. I can't
No,
find it.
no, but it's everyone dot digital.
Everyone dot
Keep all eye
Okay.
on it. It will
Yeah.
be up
Yeah.
soon enough. In fact, I'm talking to a company tomorrow who has potentially offered to build the site for me. So
Excellent.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah,
Well, if you have put anything on your socials about what you're doing, do tag the Dr. Tech Show so we can
yeah.
report on it in the season 5. That'd be great. We'd love to do that.
Yeah.
But back to the government and digital, as you probably know, the government's digital inclusion strategy is 10 years old now.
Yeah.
So we're always talking about that and the need for and others the need to update that. What's your view? Are you hopeful with the new government that things might be a bit different than the previous?
Yeah, I think so. I think if it wasn't the fact that the things have changed, and there's been a lot of individuals like the Digital Poverty Alliance, for example, making a big thing of this, that it might not have been on the agenda, but I think there's been enough screaming and shouting. I think it's a common sense issue as well. The schools must be crying out for this support, as well as individuals like ourselves. So if it's not on there, then they're insane, and it wouldn't make any sense to me whatsoever. We have to get this country up and running. We've got some serious competition now. We've really got to look, at the US, for instance. Look at South Korea, and China. I mean, I think I could probably name every other country, in close proximity to us that seem to have a better policy than us.
Mm.
But
Scotland, for example,
there you go. There you go.
and
there
Wales.
Yes.
you go. But I truly believe that the corporates are going to be the solution to this. I don't think the
Right.
governments are going to find the money for it. It's too big a deal. I think the corporates are the ones that can help out. And if
I
they're
think the role of governments will be regulation and encouragement and tax breaks and that sort of thing.
I think so. I think so.
And I think Digital Unite and AbilityNet and all of those ones are kind of proving that already.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you looking at like corporates in sort of the technology corporates or bigger than that?
Everybody. When I go to these shows, at various locations, there's not a single company there that couldn't support what we're doing, and there's not a single company there that needs to get involved in this environmental social governance thing. You might have great products and great services nowadays, but you are not going to get the customers that you want, or support from the government, unless you're doing other things like supporting your community and supporting the environment and supporting us, hopefully. Yeah.
And gradually, those firms who are not doing those things will end up paying more and more in tax and charges and prices for things that they have to pay for. So they might as well get involved early on.
That's it. And I was at a show recently called Reset Connect, and there are a hell of a lot of companies now that really, really focus on this sort of thing. They are doing it. We are a great country. Despite our issues with our government right now, but behind the scenes, despite them, we're doing a hell of a lot to
I think I noticed that digital inclusion is now included in among the responsibilities of a specific minister, and I think it's Chris Bryant.
Okay.
In DCIT.
Okay. Be good to follow up on that.
He's kind of visible and kind of a bit of he's like a grown up in the room, unlike other ministers recently in some way in some parts of the last government.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting to see how that goes.
Mike, we're going to have to close the show.
Oh, it's time to stop.
Hang on, and I want to cover one story that we picked up before we do finally close. But Mike, if people want to contact you after the show, where's the best place to find you and contact with you?
Well, you can email me direct at mike@everychildonline.co.uk. You can even use Mike at everyone digital, everyone.digital. They both come to me anyway.
Okay.
But it'd be really great to speak to people, especially if you're thinking how can you help us become what we really can become. I mean, I think I've created something when it comes to getting tech in. I need you to help me with the tech out and the way that we educate people, and get the kids really understanding what to do. The creative side of it is really important.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's finish with this story from the National Pensioners Convention, because a lot of the work that I do in the charity that I work for, is about devices actually, but also getting older people included. And they I didn't realize until I saw this on their socials, but they have a digital working party, and they produce a newsletter. It looks like it's monthly or maybe every 2 months, called Connections for All. And their July one is available now, and we'll put a link in the show notes. But this newsletter, they say, is useful in addressing digital inclusion, which they describe as ensuring older people have the equipment, skills, and connectivity to access digital services, and digital exclusion. That is, the goods and services must remain available to people who do not have the capacity or desire to use online resources. And this July issue, has articles on the Tea Talk Tech Cafe, which is a service helping older people to get online in a social setting. The Charter for Digital Inclusion, which the Digital Poverty Alliance have produced, and fixing the digital divide generally. So all things that we've just been talking about as well with Mike, and that people can relate to. So we're kind of covering all ends of the age spectrum here, which I'm sure Mike does as well. So thanks very much for joining us today, Mike. We really appreciate your time.
No,
Thanks
thank you.
everybody else for listening to us. This brings us to the end of season 4 of the Dr. Tech Show. Thank you very much for joining us. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or think of somebody else you know who might be a great guest like Mike, please do contact us in the usual way on the socials. Tag us Dr. Tech Show, DR Tech Show, and we hope you have a great week and month, and we'll see you again in 2 months' time in the middle of September. 23rd of September is when we're next due back on air. So
have a great week. Have a great summer.
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.